Hey, all you mathematicians out there, it's Mrs. Capizzi, and it's April 24th, 2020. Happy Friday. And today I'm going to be going over day number 5 from the third packet with you. So you should have all received this in the mail, and today we're starting right here. So it says day 5, topic 10-5, solve time problems. So today we are going to be reading page 568 and completing the Convince Me, and then we'll be turning to page 569 and completing numbers 1 through 7. Now we will be doing 10-5 for 3 days. So if you are stuck on any problems, make sure that you continue to watch the videos for help. So I do want to go ahead and check out the I can statement real fast. So we're not doing the solve and share, but I still wanted to show you the I can statement. So it says I can use addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division to solve problems involving time. So remember, we are going to be doing a bunch of different problems, and sometimes you'll be adding, sometimes you'll be subtracting, sometimes you'll be multiplying, and sometimes you'll be dividing. So you want to make sure that you're reading through the problems to decide which operation that you will need to solve that problem. So the first thing that they wanted you to do is, let's take a look at how can you use multiplication and division to solve problems involving time. So I'm just trying to get this so that you can see it better. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So in this particular problem, you'll see that we're just using multiplication and division. So it says Krystal is training for a race, and she trains every day for 8 days. How many hours does Krystal train? So that's the first part of the problem. So you'll see this is a multi-step problem here. So let's read the second paragraph. It says Krystal spends an equal amount of time sprinting, walking, and jogging. How many minutes does Krystal spend on each activity during her 8 days of training? So I'm going to go ahead and label this. This is question number 1. Okay, so that's the first question they're asking you, is how many hours does Krystal train? And the second question that you need to answer is how many minutes does Krystal spend on each activity during her 8 days of training? So I want you to quickly turn to page 569 in your packet, and I want to draw your attention to the bottom half where there's a units of time table. So let's just refresh what some of our equivalent units of time are. So 1 hour is 60 minutes, 1 year is 12 months, 1 day is 24 hours, and 1 week is 7 days. So you will need to refer to this table throughout this topic 10-5 if you need help remembering how many days are in a week or hours in a day, etc. So let's take a look at the box on the left. So the box on the left answers question number 1. So I'm going to label this 1 right there. So for question number 1, I can see here that they chose to solve the problem using multiplication. So what they saw was, if you look at the pair of sneakers up here, you can see that Krystal trains for 2 3/4 hours per day. So this is really important information that you are going to need. And this pen is much better. So, since she trained for 8 days, we need to take 8 times 2 3/4. So Miss Landis went over with you last week in 10-4 how to go about solving a whole number times a mixed number. And remember, a mixed number is when it has a whole number and a fraction. So here, 8 times 2 3/4 is the same as 8 times parentheses 2 plus 3/4. And then remember, I'm going to use the distributive property to help me solve this. So I'm going to rewrite this as parentheses 8 times 2 and parentheses plus 8 times 3/4 end parentheses. So 8 times 2 is 16, and remember, to multiply a whole number by a fraction, you take the whole number times the numerator. So 8 times 3 is 24, and my denominator is 4, so I have 24/4. So I need to change 24/4 into a mixed number. So I'll skip count by 4s. So I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and 24. So I can see I can actually get exactly to 24. So let's see how many times that was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to rewrite 24/4 as 6. And you can also think about it as 24 divided by 4 is 6. And 16 plus 6 is 22. And what I want you to do, since they're asking you for how many hours, I want you to write the label next to that. So go ahead and write hours next to the number 22. And then you can see that they wrote the sentence, Krystal trains for 22 hours. So down here, just like I was talking about, you can use the distributive property to help you multiply. So that's how we solved this first question up here. Now let's take a look at the second question. And I'm just going to use this little sticky to cover up the writing down below. It says, how many minutes Krystal spends on each activity during her training? So remember, her training included sprinting, walking, and jogging. So she spent 22 hours doing those activities. And now they're asking you how many minutes. So since 1 hour equals 60 minutes, I can take the number of hours times 60 to figure out how many minutes that was. And just to review real quick, when you're multiplying a 2-digit by a 2-digit number, and the first number, the number in the ones place and the bottom number is a 0, you can just drop that 0 down here and start with the tens place. So now I've got 6 times 2 is 12, so I'll drop the 2 and regroup the 1. And 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 3. And I count 3 places over to put my comma. 1, 2, 3. So that's 1,320 minutes. So I can say that 22 hours equals 1,320 minutes. So you can see the sentence here. In 8 days, Krystal spends 1,320 minutes sprinting, walking, and jogging. So she does 1, 2, 3 things. And now they're asking you, actually, so this was question number 2, and now they're actually asking you a third question. So there's a lot going on in this one problem. So 1,320 minutes represents sprinting, walking, and jogging. So they want to know how much they spend on each one. So you would take that total and divide it by 3. And you can see here they got 440. But what I'd like to do is, just as a refresher, let's go over how to divide this. So remember our does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? Right? So divide, multiply, subtract, check, and bring down or bring up a remainder. So let's take a look here. I can't do 1 divided by 3, so I'll put an X. And I know my denominator is 3, so I'm going to go ahead and skip count by 3's 9 spaces. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27. So you always want to go out 9 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now I've got 13 divided by 3, and the closest I can get is 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my up number. 4 times 3, so I divided, now I multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. And now I subtract. 13 minus 12 is 1. I check to make sure 1 is less than 3, and it is. So now I will bring down my 2. Then I've got 12 divided by 3. That goes in exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 minus 12 is 0. And then you don't forget to bring this last 0 down. And then you've got 0 divided by 3 is 0. And 0 times 3 is 0, so there's no remainder. So your answer here, the quotient is 440, which is what they got here. But I didn't like that they didn't show you how they did it, so that's why I did it on the sticky here. And I would like you to try that off to the side, just as a refresher. So it says, in 8 days, Krystal spends 440 minutes on each activity. So we've now completed the first task that you were supposed to do today. So we read how can you use multiplication and division to solve problems involving time. So now we're going to complete the convince me. So the convince me is at the bottom of the paper. So let's take a look. It says, Ellie said you can regroup the 440 minutes Krystal spent on each activity as hours. So what does Ellie mean? So again, remember that 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So since she spent 440 minutes, what we're really trying to do is we need to change 440 minutes into hours. Okay, so that's what Ellie means here. So let's see how we can do that. I'm going to skip count by 60s, and remember, skip counting is just like repeated addition. So it would be 60, and my next number, I would add 60 here, and I would get 120. So my next number would be 120. And then to the 120, I would add 60 again, and I would get 180. And then I add 60 again. 0 plus 0 is 0. 8 plus 6 is 14. Drop my 4. Regroup the 1. And I get 240, and I'm getting closer to 440, but I'm not there yet. So then I'm going to add 60 again. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 4 is 10. I drop my 0, regroup my 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So then I'll bring that up. And then I'm going to add 60 again. Oh, I'm getting a lot closer to 440. So then 300 plus 60 is 360. Then I'm going to add another 60. Remember, I'm trying to get close to 440. 6 plus 6 is 12. 3 plus 1 is 4. So 420. I'm really, really close to 440. And I know if I add another 60, I'm going to go over 440, so I'm going to stop there. So let's see how many hours that is. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 hours. But now I actually had 440 minutes, and when we skip counted, we only got up to 420. So if I find the difference, I see that 0 minus 0 is 0, 4 minus 2 is 2. So there's 20 left over, so that would actually mean 7 hours and 20 minutes. So what does Ellie mean? Ellie means that she's going to change minutes into hours. So to do that, you can see here that we got 7 whole hours, but there's 20 minutes left over. So let's go ahead to our last activity for today, and we need to complete 1 through 7 on page 569. So, like I said, this is a lot. I do want to look at another example. So the problem we just went over was multiplication and addition. Was multiplication and division. But sometimes you'll have an addition or subtraction problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at, here they have adding time. And I'm going to rewrite this on my board. So I've got 2 hours and 32 minutes. And they're adding that to 3 hours and 40 minutes. So easy enough. First add together your minutes. 2 plus 0 is 2, and 3 plus 4 is 7, so that's 72 minutes, and 2 hours plus 3 hours is 5 hours. But what I want you to think about, this is more than 60 minutes, okay? So if the number of minutes you get is more than 60, you're going to need to rename that as hours. So if you think about it, if I take 60 minutes from here, I'm left with 12 minutes. And this 60 minutes, I'm going to rename that. I'm going to need to rename that as 1 hour. So I took away the 60 minutes from the minutes, and I added an hour to the hours. So that would be 6 hours and 12 minutes. So another way you can think about it is if you break this 72 minutes apart, I'm going to break that into 60 and 12, and this is 60 minutes and 12 minutes. And then I'm going to take the 60 minutes and rename it as 1 hour. But I can't rename the 12 minutes because that's less than 60. So I can combine the 5 hours and the 1 hour to get 6 hours, and then I have 12 minutes left over. So that's this side. Is where they added them together and renamed that as 6 hours and 12 minutes. Now let's take a look at the subtracting. So just like when we were subtracting and we didn't have enough to subtract, we have to regroup. So the same thing goes with time. So again, I'm going to do this example on the board so that it's bigger. So we've got 5 hours and 8 minutes, and they're subtracting out 2 hours and 32 minutes. So how do we solve this? So first, just like when we do regular subtraction, I look to see, I can't take 32 minutes from 8 minutes, so I need to regroup. So I'm going to take 1 hour away from the 5, so that's going to become 4. And remember, 1 hour can be rewritten as 60 minutes. So I'm going to add that 60 minutes to the 8, which gives me a total of 68. Okay, so this can get a little messy, so if you have a separate piece of paper, you might want to do these problems on a separate piece of lined paper. So I'm actually going to rewrite this problem. So I've got 4 hours and 68 minutes because I took an hour away from the 5 and made a 4, and I added it back in as 60 minutes. And I'm going to subtract out 2 hours and 32 minutes, and you can see now that I can do my subtraction. So 8 minus 2 is 6, 6 minus 3 is 3, so that's 36 minutes, and 4 minus 2 is 2 hours. So in this example here, you can see that's how they got the 2 hours and 36 minutes. So if you need to rewind the video a little bit and get a piece of paper and write down the work that I just did, please feel free to go ahead and do that. So now you need to complete numbers 1 through 7. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and try the problems, and then when you're ready, press play and you're going to check your work. I don't want you playing the video and just writing the answers down, okay? So promise me. All right, so when you're ready, pause the video. Okay, so let's take a look at questions 1 through 7. So here's question 1. How is adding and subtracting measures of time like adding and subtracting whole numbers? So, like we just talked about, sometimes you need to regroup sometimes. Okay, so that's just exactly how it's like adding and subtracting. So you need to make sure that you have enough on the top number to subtract the bottom number. So let's take a look at numbers 2 and 3. So here they tell you to multiply or divide. So you know that you're either multiplying or dividing. And remember, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, which is down here in this table, and 7 days in 1 week. So here they have how many minutes are in 6 1/4 hours, and how many weeks are in 7,077 days. So I am going to use my board to solve this so that it's easier for you guys to see. So if I want to know how many minutes are in 6 1/4 hours, if I look at my table, if I'm going from, if I have hours and I'm going to minutes, the number's getting bigger, so I need to multiply. So I'm going to take 60 times 6 1/4, and I'm going to use the distributive property to solve this. So I'm going to do my parentheses, and I've got 60 times 6 plus 60 times 1/4. So over here, 60 times 6, I can do this off to the side. 6 times 0 is 0, and 6 times 6 is 36. So this is 360 plus 60 times 1 is 60 fourths. So I need to change 60 fourths into a mixed number. So I'm going to skip count by 4s. Got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, and 60. So I can see I got exactly to 60, so let's see how many times that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this becomes 360 plus 15, which is 375. So on my paper here, how many minutes are 6 1/4 hours? And you do need to show your work. So either you can write this on a piece of paper and attach it. So here, we've got 6 1/4 hours equals 375 minutes. Okay, and don't forget to have your work on another paper. Now it says how many weeks are in 7,077 days. So if I have the days and I'm going to weeks, I see there's more days than there are weeks. So if the number you're starting with there's more of, to get to a smaller number, you're going to need to divide. So actually up here, I do want you to write 60 to solve the top one with 60 times 6 1/4, and to solve the bottom one is going to be 7,077, and I need to divide that by the 7 days because there's 7 days in 1 week. So let me go ahead and get my whiteboard so I have some more room, and we've got 7,077 divided by 7. So I'm actually going to rewrite that as 7,077 divided by 7. So I can see here 7 divided by 7. Remember, that goes in one time. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. And then I bring down this 0. Now don't get tricked. Remember, 0 divided by 7 is just 0. And if you put a 0 up here, then you just bring down the next number. And I can ignore these two zeros. So then I've got 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times 7 is 7, and 7 minus 7 is 0. And then I need to bring down this 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 1 times 7 is 7, and 7 minus 7 is 0. So my answer is 1011. So 7,077 divided by 7 equals 1,011, and they remember they asked you to find weeks, so 1,011 weeks. Okay, so 7,077 days equals 1,011 weeks. Okay, so now we're on the last 4 problems for the day. Hope you guys are doing okay and hanging in there. I know this is a lot. All right, so let me go ahead and erase my boards, and let's take a look at number 4. So I can see for number 4 that that's an addition problem. So the first step is super easy because all you have to do is add. So I've got 30 plus 35 is 65, okay? And then 8 plus 7 is 15. So I've got 15 hours and 65 minutes, but I say to myself, 65 minutes is more than 60, so I need to rename that. So I'm going to break this apart. 65 minutes, so I'm going to break it apart. So I've got 60 because that is 1 hour and 5 left over. So I'm going to rename the 60 minutes as 1 hour, and I'm going to combine the 15 hours plus the 1 hour. So 15 plus 1 is 16, and then I've got 5 minutes left over. So I put the 5 in this box. All right, so now we've got number 5. So now they're talking about years and months. So this, you're going to need this piece of information. 1 year is 12 months. So I look here, and on the bottom I have 9 months. I cannot take 9 months from 5 months. So I'm going to go to my next column, and this is years. So I'm going to take 1 year away. So 2 years becomes 1 year. Okay, and then since 1 year is 12 months, I need to add 12 months to this 5 months. So 5 plus 12 is 17. So I'm going to cross off the 5 and make that 17. So now I've got 17 minus 9, which is 8. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So that is 1 year and 8 months. And number 6 down here, 8 times 1/4. So remember, when you're multiplying a whole number times a unit fraction, you just take the whole number times 1, 8 times 1, and my denominator stays 4. So 8 times 1 is 8, and I've got 8/4. So I'm going to break apart the 8/4. I'm going to see how many 1 wholes I can make. So that is 4/4 plus another 4/4. And remember, we circle every time that it makes one whole. So that's 1, 2, that would be 2 hours. And the last one, it says how many weeks are in 588 days. So remember up here, 1 week is 7 days, so you can see here they are dividing. So my divisor is 7, so I am going to skip count by 7s down here. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, and 63. And remember, you want to typically go out 9 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to rewrite this as 588 divided by 7. So over here, I see I cannot do 5 divided by 7, so I'm going to put an X above there. And now I've got 58 divided by 7. And I can see the closest I can get is 56. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So 8 times 7, 8 times 7 is 56. 8 minus 6 is 2. So now I bring down my 8, and now I've got 28 divided by 7, and I look here, it goes exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28, and 28 minus 28 is 0, so there is no remainder. So I can see here that this would give me, my quotient is 84, would be 84 weeks. So I know that was a lot to take in. Remember, just keep doing the best that you can and reach out to your teachers if you need any help. I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you again on Monday. I miss you guys.